James is going to review this book and eat his dinner eventually. And I'm going to review these movies and TV shows. And then I think I'm going to do that first, actually.
Well, that's what we usually do.
Yeah, may as well get them out of the way. Because they don't take very much time. So this is a David Lynch movie, and it's from 1986. James hasn't watched it yet, so I'm not going to say much about it. I already gave away some of the stuff about it to him. It's a mystery, and it's a good mystery. It's on the top of the stack. You know how I do things, best to worst. And it's
spoiler alert, it has Agent Cooper in it. Dale Cooper, is that his name?
It has a lot of the Twin Peaks characters in the movie. Before, this was when they were younger, right? And it's good to see him when he's younger. He looks very handsome.
Oh, I thought he was handsome in Twin Peaks.
He still is.
It's amazing how he can play kind of like this.
Romantic, yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, he's also funny, despite the good looks.
Yes,
it's hard when a person's good looking to be.
Yeah. So anyway, the movie is more artful than the other stuff that I have in the stack, and I like the art with the mystery.
The artfulness.
And it starts out where Kyle MacLachlan, that's Agent Cooper, who's not Agent Cooper in this, he finds he's walking along and he finds a human ear, just like, you know how we go on our nature walks. Well, he's just walking along and there it is.
You find dead
right?
things. Yeah.
And
we haven't found a person yet. It's going to happen.
He wants to try to solve a mystery that he realizes quite quickly that he really shouldn't have gotten involved with. But anyway, it's definitely worth watching, and we'll talk a little bit more about it once James has watched, because it's something that everyone needs to watch. And I thought I'd watched it with James, but he said no. When I gave him the little bits of, oh, remember the one that da-da-da-da, and he's like, no. And so I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I watched it with my ex. Which makes a lot of sense. Anyway, so there's that one. And Ravage. Now, this one has a very independent sort of feel to it. And
like indie is what you mean by independent?
Yeah. They did a very good job. It's a story about a woman who she happens, like Agent Cooper, who's not Agent Cooper in this, I can't remember what's his name in it, Jeffrey Beaumont. Anyway, like Jeffrey Beaumont in Blue Velvet, this young woman, Harper, she comes across a mystery, and it's bad. She sees some people whipping a person to death, and well, we're not sure to death, but it seems pretty clear. Anyway, so they're talking. I think they want us out of the way because they want at the food.
Yeah.
But anyway, so she's hiding behind a tree. She's going to run in the other direction, and then she's a nature photographer. She's come to try to track down rare species in their elements. So she has a camera with her, and she decides, she takes a breath, and she's like, I could do this. She takes a bunch of pictures, and then she leaves. And she, anyway, the mystery, it gets good. It's a real girl power movie, and it's the best girl power movie I've ever seen, honestly. And not all the acting is perfect all the time, but it's good enough to get the story across. And you really get a sense of how she holds things together, because and how she's able to become such a powerful person in this movie, right? A character in this movie. She's used to living out in the wild and roughing it and having to figure out what to do, right? And so she's in her element when she's trying to outwit some people, and she does a great job. So yeah, it's
empowering to watch.
It is empowering. And then when you have her, there's terrifying. I mean, she's running for her life kind of thing, and it seems for most people, they'd think this is hopeless. Well, you see some things along the way, like when you see the broken down vehicles, you're like, oh no, right? Because you know what's happening there, or at least you should if you watch a bunch of mysteries like I do. And honestly, she should have too, but that's not her element. Her element is the nature stuff. And when she's out in the nature, it's all peaceful. The music, the sounds, the whatever, it's when she's out there, even when she's running for her life, you get a sense that she's not scared there. That's where she's at home and safe. And that's how she manages to get through this movie. It's awesome. So, yeah, this is a must watch. Never would have guessed it. Murder, She Wrote. I used to watch this faithfully as a child.
Now you're finding out why?
Now I realize why. It's actually good. The mysteries, I mean, some of the acting, maybe not. And although there's a lot of big name actors in here and everything, and it's kind of cheesy, that you have the happy sounding music and all that kind of stuff. But the mysteries are top notch. And there's some things about the show that, honestly, they need to redo the series. That's just it. Because back then, you'd have things like the police officer would be saying, well, she was stabbed to death in this bed, and you're looking at the sheets and they're white. They're just clean, because they don't want to show the blood and stuff, right? So they're... and
yeah,
so,
70s TV.
Or 80s probably, I don't know. I would have been watching it in the 80s, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's right. It would be more like the 80s.
Yeah. So... And it's fun to see all these big characters. Like there's what's his face from the Avengers, Patrick
McNee.
Yeah.
Oh my heavens.
He's in one of the episodes, and I think it was season 2. And so there's lots of big names in here that you'll recognize. And
someone off of MASH you were mentioning.
There's a couple.
The guy who played the pretentious guy.
Yeah, and there's the father, Mulcahy or whatever he was in.
Oh yeah,
But so there's lots of characters that you're going to recognize when you watch this, and it's interesting to see how, like, I remember the 80s. I hear all this stuff lately about people racial prejudice and stuff. People are acting out because of stereotyping on television and stuff. Well, you watch this, and there are a lot of brown-colored people that are good people. They're her friends. They're, a nice cab driver or a police officer, or they're good characters in this. There's one guy who some people are wanting to steal her purse and maybe her life, and an African American young man comes to her rescue. And so, I mean, that's what I was raised on. I was raised on stuff like The Cosby Show and this.
Cosby Show was one of the biggest hits on TV. For a while, I think it was maybe number one, like one of those years in the 80s.
So judging by what was on TV in the 80s, you would think that African American people should be the gentlest and, the uncle that everyone loves or whatever. Anyway, so it was interesting to watch. Everyone needs to watch this because the mysteries are good. They're top notch. I just stayed up all night. Christmas Eve, I got up at around 12:30. Maybe I was hoping to sneak a peek at Santa Claus, but nope. Instead, I saw a lot of mysteries. I've been up all night.
Yeah, so we should make a point. There's lots of black people or African American people that are gentle, but
yes.
Percentage-wise, they've got they're overrepresented when it comes to murders, for example. Over 50%
but
of the
not
murders
in Murder,
in the United States are committed
You won't see that in Murder, She Wrote.
African American people.
They're in there. They're in the show, but they're not murderers.
Yeah.
So anyway.
It's not as though they're being stereotyped as that.
No, not at all. And that's the point I'm trying to make. So, The Flight Attendant, the complete second season. I so wanted to watch this after watching the first one. You must have seen my review if you cared to. I gave a good review for the first season, not for the second. The second one is crap. And I'll tell you why. Because the weakest link of The Big Bang Theory is the star of this show. And although it worked in the first season, all right, because the first season was just it was great.
The first season of Flight Attendant.
A Flight Attendant, not Big Bang. I don't care about that. But anyway, in this one, you know how in the first season she had these, she's an alcoholic and she had some sort of like, maybe hallucinations, maybe just daydreaming episodes, who knows. But anyway, where there was a man that she kept seeing and hearing, she was having like auditory hallucinations, stuff like that, right? In this one, it's herself. So here she is. If you usually, you know the rule, if you have a bad actor, you don't put two of them on the screen together.
No.
Well, here, they had to get the story across, and she's terrible.
Yeah,
she's terrible. So anyway, and plus she's gained some weight on this because she's given up the alcohol, and so instead she eats lots of donuts and stuff like that. And I don't know. Anyway, doesn't work.
What's her name? And is it Peggy or something like that?
Penny.
Penny, there we go.
Monstrous. Now, I didn't know if I should put this ahead of the Flight Attendant in the thing, because I actually did enjoy it. I do like Christina Ricci, and I like mysteries, I like ghost stories kind of thing, but honestly, this one kind of let me down a little bit, so I ended up putting it lower down in the stack. Even though it is all right, it's just... I honestly, I expect more from movies than I do from television series, usually. And
It's
when they don't
changed,
give
of
it to
course.
me, I am a little bit disappointed. So I felt like there were some things that were unanswered at the end that I don't want to give anything away if you want to watch it. I mean, it is okay to watch. It was interesting when the mystery started unraveling and you go, oh my gosh. So anyway, and I should have caught what was going on earlier, actually, when she was talking to her grandma. I should have caught it, but I did not. Anyway, All I See Is You. I have seen this one before, and I watched it again anyway, and it's really not that great. It's a good idea for a movie, and it falls short a bit. It's about a blind woman who ends up, she's getting her vision back, and the thing that I really hate about this movie the most is her song. It sounds good, and it's the kind of songs you might write if you don't know how to write poetry. You start out, you have a nice little tune, and you have a few words to go with it, and you go, okay, yeah, I'm going to rhyme some with this, and it just doesn't make sense. I can't remember what her rhymes are, but it's absolutely... Oh, I like to double dutch, I like to swim. It makes me happy, it makes me grim. Grim for the rhyme. Why? It doesn't make any sense. Don't pick swim then. It's just so bad.
Yeah.
And not only do you have to hear that once, it is repeated in the movie. It's terrible. It makes the movie unwatchable. Doctor Who, The Power of the Doctor.
Wow, it's not looking very powerful
No,
on your list of
I know,
things.
because
And
I
you
love
like
Doctor Who.
See, she even said love, so I just said like. And I know she's telling the truth.
Yeah.
I was just giving you a minimum. So, like... So you even watch it with when there's that guy... And David Tennant's the weaselly little guy that does the great job, right?
Yes.
But
So-
you'll even watch it when it's the guy who looks like he's a cross between John Kerry and Herman Munster. You know, that guy that's...
Yeah, there were some bad Doctor Who's. Anyway, this one is the woman, and I was like, when I heard there was going to be a woman Doctor Who, I was like, about time, you know?
Yeah.
But they picked a crap one, and it's like, what? Why did you do this to us? You let the side down.
There's a lot of good women actors out there. How did they end up with that?
Yeah.
I mean,
honestly,
would have Penny been better?
No.
Probably not. But yeah.
In any case, there's been some sidekicks, what was the redhead's name? Was her character Melody Pond, or what was her? Anyway, I can't remember. But not the doctor's wife, I hated her, but the mother of the doctor's wife, the sidekick, the companion, I loved her. It made it worth watching that season, even though I hated the doctor, just for her, because she was great. So they could have picked her, but no. they picked this woman that, anyway, she's not suitable. And a lot of the Doctor Who's that they've picked are not suitable. A lot of the sidekicks are not suitable. I think they pick them just so that they can funnel them into other television. They were doing that with Buffy the Vampire Slayer for the last few seasons of that. They were throwing in just junk actors that were, I hated seeing them. It was ruining the show, but they didn't care because they thought, oh, well, we have this vehicle that's so powerful that we can just use it to launch other crap actors into shows. But no, you can't do that.
They've
It
done
is
that in
disgusting
comic
when they
books
do it. I
sometimes.
hate it. I hate it when you do that to good shows. And you've been doing it too much with Doctor Who, and you know it because you ended the season off right with this season. I'm not going to tell you how it ends, but thank God you decided to do that.
I think they've been doing it for half a century, something like that.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
disgusting when they do it. Anyway, Ms. Fisher's Modern Murder Mysteries.
Well, I
Series
gotta
2.
say, the cover looks. Is this the one that was set in the 60s or
Australia,
something
yeah,
like
yeah.
that?
And
It looks cute, but
yeah, and they
it's
kind of
near the
spoofed
bottom of
the
the pile.
Avengers a bit because the detective man that's her love interest. That's, they're kind of a pair, right? She's the private investigator and he's the detective, and his name is James Steed instead of John Steed, right? And so I mentioned Patrick McNee
Yeah.
in Murder, She Wrote, and he was, of course, John Steed in the Avengers. And I went to the library recently, and I'm like, I have to borrow all the Avengers because I really want to watch them. No. My library, none of
They don't
have the Avengers.
Ew,
What they
junk
have for the
library.
Avengers is the stupid superhero crap. That's all they have. They don't have... I mean, what
Awful.
was the Avengers?
What?
I think I was reading that it was... for the first Avengers, that's not the new Avengers. They brought it back. Like it lasted for I think a decade or something, and then like in the '60s, it was the '60s show, and I used to watch it with my dad, and when I was a teenager, and they brought it back in the '70s. A little while later, they called it the New Avengers,
Yeah.
and but it still had Patrick McNee.
And then it had the woman who was in Kirby. No,
Well,
no.
I didn't
was
like oh yeah, you like her. I thought, I can't remember. Anyway,
Well, I prefer whatever.
Diana Rigg.
Diana Rigg. And Linda Thorson probably was better. She was a Canadian who played in I think it was the late 60s or something.
But yeah, I was reading on the internet. I'm like, how can they not have the Avengers? And I was reading about the Avengers, and apparently it was, well, you can look it up. I can't remember exactly, but it was something like, after a few years of airing, it was from Britain. After a few years of airing, it was popular in something like 90 countries or something. Like, it was crazy popular. And everybody, if you think about, some sexy woman in a catsuit, you're going to think about Diana Rigg in a catsuit. Guaranteed. Even before you think of Catwoman.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, wait a minute.
yeah, way more. Anyway, my last one on the stack is
Yeah.
11/22/63.
Stevie King, buddy. We got to do better than this.
Well, it was...
I was listening to it in the background. Wow.
It was just not what he's designed to do. It was, he was doing a JFK sort of supernatural take on it. So it involves time travel and stuff like that. And the problem is not acting. It's
No, I see
costumes,
Franco. Is that
everything
James
was
Franco
good.
or whatever his name is?
Yeah.
He's a pretty good actor. So
The problem
wow.
was the story.
Wow. Yeah.
It's not, for the JFK stuff, you got to do a lot of research into it, and it was not there. This did not work. So I was disappointed.
So do we need a spoiler alert? Like it's understood that according to this that Lee Harvey Oswald was the shooter, right?
In this, yeah, he was the
Come
shooter.
on. You know,
Obvious
they're
that-
talking about releasing 97% of the JFK files and stuff like that. And this is now, it's obvious that something's getting hidden. And the funny thing is, if they released it, all the stuff, you'd find out that the federal government and almost all the CIA, aside from a few rogue actors like E. Howard Hunt and stuff like that, and maybe William Harvey, the drunk that died a long time ago. They were just involved in a cover-up. They weren't involved in the crime. They were actually trying to cover it up. Now, they shouldn't have done it, but Lyndon Johnson was afraid it was going to affect his election chances a year later. So he, a little less than a year later, so he just covered it up. He didn't want people saying to him, well, you know, it was a communist plot. What are you going to do about the commies in Cuba? And stuff like that. He didn't want that. He didn't want that sort of stuff. That's how it was set up by the original conspirators, and there were all sorts of conspiracies involved. The original conspirators wanted to make it look like it was a left-wing commie thing coming out of Cuba, and then they wanted they wanted to kill two birds with one stone. They wanted to kill JFK. They hated him because of the failure of the Bay of Pigs, and they wanted to. The Americans to invade Cuba and wipe out Fidel Castro. But Lyndon Johnson wasn't happy. We've got him on tape. He was saying, I don't want this issue. He taped himself, like Nixon did later and like Kennedy did before him. And he said, I don't want this issue to cost me the election. And another time he says, I don't want this to start World War III. So he didn't want to invade Cuba and have the Russians attack the United States using atomic weapons. It's clear what his motives were. Did Johnson arrange for a coup? No, Johnson was a coward. He was a lying coward and stuff like that. So he'd never get involved in something like that. Wake up. So there are three conspiracies. There's a fake conspiracy set up by the real conspirators. And the real conspirators were mafia combined with Cuban, and some of them, I think, would have actually been left-wing Cubans. Like what Fidel Castro did was he got rid of right-wing Cubans and the mafia from American companies from Cuba, but he also got rid of his fellow left-wing conspirators. And I think some of them were involved in the Bay of Pigs. They wanted to get rid of Fidel Castro. So I don't know how many of them were involved with left-wing conspirators involved in wiping out JFK. So those would be refugees from Cuba, kind of refugees you don't want. And that's why Cuban refugees have to be vetted. Like you end up with the types that wiped out JFK. Oh, let's bring in folks that'll wipe out the president and stuff like that, even if he's relatively left-wing. And then there were the occasional CIA conspirators too, like E. Howard Hunt, and then people who were on the, a lot of them were contract CIA agents, like Frank Sturgis. That's not his real name. He had I can't remember what his real name was. He's Spanish. Sturgis, what is that? I don't know. His Irish name. Anyway, many of the people that are involved later on in Watergate, E. Howard Hunt, so on and so forth, Sturgis. Anyway, we might have a couple of minutes to deal with this. I thought I'd do something seasonal, so I arranged to finish it up in time for Christmas. Just finished it up about 8 o'clock this morning. It's called Le Noël d'Hercule Poirot. So that's the Hercule Poirot's Christmas. So it's an Agatha Christie thing. You notice the Agatha Christie is a lot bigger than the actual title. This is translated into French. It's a reasonably good translation. I think, they translated a lot of idioms. It was good for learning. Oftentimes when you read a translation, it's not as hard as reading something in an original language because the idioms aren't there, but there's a lot of idioms in this. So I can't tell you whether the idioms are good, but I think they were trying, to make it seem like something that would be in French. It's a fairly short read, 250 pages. There are a lot of chapters, so there are a lot of chapter breaks and things like that. So a little bit, a whole lot of white space, right? The start and the end of chapters, so on and so forth. And it is a great novel. I got to tell you, I don't think I've ever solved Agatha Christie murder mystery. Now, I'm lousy at it. Pauline will laugh at me. We're watching a murder mystery or something like that on TV. She's figured out halfway through, or even a quarter of the way through, right at the beginning. I almost never figure this stuff out. My brain turns to soup when I'm watching that sort of stuff. All I want, I guess, is just entertainment. I understand if you're going to be lying about history and stuff like that, my mind sharpens up. It's not soup anymore. I'm going to catch you in your lie. And it doesn't matter if you're right wing or so-called left wing. I'm going to catch you. Or if you're an academic who's been, like an Egyptologist who's been lying about, lying to yourselves and along to everyone else about chronology, I'm going to catch you. If you're a quantum theorist, I'm going to catch you. If you're someone who believes in the Big Bang, I'm going to catch you. So don't kid yourself. I'm going to catch you. But if you're someone who's writing a murder mystery, you'll never catch me. But at any rate, this one is great. I was totally fooled and stuff like that. It is so wildly improbable. There's a few coincidences that never happen in real life. You might figure it out and stuff like that. I always tell myself, I'm going to just get a list of characters, and I'm just going to go with which one is the least probable, and then I'll figure it out that way. But yeah, it's wildly improbable, but highly entertaining and stuff like that. So, in French, English, probably it's been Agatha Christie's been translated in many different languages. When I was over in Russia, right after the fall of the Soviet Union, I made sure to get Murder on the Links translated into Russian and stuff like that. So you can get Agatha Christie translated, hopefully into Armenian and some of the, Albanian, so on and so forth. That Kurdish, that'd be wonderful. Anyway, highly recommend it. If you like these sorts of things, just get it from your library, or I would have got this highly used. It was beaten up even when I got hold of it, and then I beat it up even worse.
Well, you have 3 minutes if you want to talk about something.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about. Well, like happy holidays. People are saying happy holidays nowadays. I believe in people having a happy holiday, and don't go pooping on their parade if they say Merry Christmas. That is shameful. People mean well when they say that. If someone said happy Hanukkah or stuff like that, it's supposed to be microaggression to go around saying Merry Christmas. Guess what, idiots? If you want to say happy holidays, I'm not going to say that's, even though it might well be a mesoaggression. But if you give people outside of a physical sort of thing, that's a macroaggression. If you give people grief about saying Merry Christmas, shame on you.
I don't think there's anything wrong with saying Happy Holidays. I say it all the time.
That's what I'm saying. Okay, it's okay if you feel bad about doing that, but if you do it to bug someone, then it's a mesoaggression. And if you if someone says Merry Christmas and you go Happy Holidays or something like that, then that's a mesoaggression. And if you actually give someone grief about saying Merry Christmas, that's a macroaggression. Okay, when it comes to verbal sort of stuff, it's absolutely shameful. Same for you folks in England that are looking to crush the ringing of church bells and stuff like that. Shame on you. What you're doing is you're giving the world's longest lasting major league monoculture exactly what they want, because in a Sharia ruled society, churches weren't supposed to ring their church bells. So what they're doing is they're doing the footwork for Muslims who believe in Sharia. And in England,